Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ar Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man sara ala sabilihi ila yawmiddin amma ba'd. So today inshallah ta'ala we'll continue with our lesson in Ilm al-Mustalah, and we've been covering the book Al-Tazkira fi Ulum al-Hadith by Ibn Malakin rahimahullah. And so far we have covered concerning over 30 something different types of hadith. So the author rahimahullah mentioned these the different types of hadith and give us a broad definition of what these hadith are, and we have somewhat covered those particular hadith. Now today inshallah ta'ala the author will now start discussing another aspect that relates to ilm al-hadith, and that's a matter regarding, as he mentioned here, Sifatu rawi, matters that relates to the narrator. So we'll be discussing concerning matters relating to the narrator, and this also relates to ilm al-hadith and also the authenticity of a hadith. So by what is mentioned here by Ibn Malakin rahimahullah, he mentioned Sifatu rawi, as for the description of the rawi, وهو أد ضابط ويدخل معرفة الجر والتعديل وبيان سن السماء وهو تمييز ويحصل في خمسة غالبا وكيفية السماء وتحمل. So what he has mentioned here rahimahullah, Ibn Malakin, is as mentioned, is to continue the discussion regarding ilm al-hadith, but from a different angle, which is matters relating to the rawi, the narrator himself. So he mentioned here regarding this matter, so this, but we mentioned Sifatu rawi, as for the Sifat of the rawi, the description of the rawi, the narrator, وهو أدل ضابط, that he should be one ad ضابط, he should be one who's ad ضابط. So then I mentioned ويدخل, also what is included in this, معرفة الجر والتعديل, the person knowing matters regarding ilm jar wa ta'dil, وبيان سن السماء, and also the next matter is the age in which the person is allowed to listen to hadith. Then he mentioned what tamyiz, and this age it is tamyiz. ويحصل في خمسة غالبا, and it is achieved by the person attaining the age of 5 in most cases. وكيفية السماء وتحمل, and also كيفية, how does the person listen to hadith, and also the person he carries hadith. So our discussion today inshallah will be discussing concerning matters relating to the point that is mentioned by the author, and he kind of somewhat covered 3 main points. The first, Sifatu rawi, matters that relates to the description of the rawi. Then he mentioned وهو أدل ضابط, he mentioned concerning this person what are the description that he should fulfill, or the criteria that he should fulfill. Then he mentioned ويدخل, and also what is included in this, معرفة الجر والتعديل, knowing matters regarding the science of ilm of jar wa ta'dil or al-ruwat. Then he mentioned the third matter that he mentioned, bayan sin as-sama wa tamyiz, and knowing the age that the person is allowed to listen to hadith. So inshallah ta'ala we'll be covering these 3 points. We might go into some more detail, as what the author rahimahullah Ibn Malakin have mentioned is somewhat very brief. So we'll be discussing some points further so as to give more clarity on this very important topic regarding knowing the description, the criteria for the rawi, the narrator. So of those matters that are covered in this particular discussion regarding this matter, then the first of those things that can be mentioned regarding a rawi and their description, that they mentioned here concerning that the author rahimullah, that he mentioned regarding concerning this matter, that regarding a rawi. So he mentioned concerning that this matter regarding a rawi, that the person having an understanding regarding those things related to the rawi. So as for this mawdu, the discussion that we'll be having is relating to the mawdu is concerning ahwal al-rawat, wa rawi, knowing the affairs of the narrator or narrators by way of Sifatu rawi. So knowing concerning the description or the criteria that is expected from the narrator regarding him being said or her being said to be maqbool, acceptable or not, which they refer to as jar wa ta'dil. So concerning this particular discussion is regarding knowing the affairs of the narrators, and which narrator can be accepted and those that are rejected. So as for regarding this matter, as mentioned by some of the ulama, that this aspect concerning ilm al-mustalah or ulum al-hadith, that is something of great importance regarding discussing about the rawi or rawat. So as for this matter, that ilm of the rawat is related back to hadith being acceptable, the condition of acceptability or not, whereas we mentioned before regarding concerning for hadith to be acceptable, it must fulfill certain criteria or certain conditions. And we mentioned 5 conditions. The first condition, thubut, ittisal, as-sanad, that the first of those conditions, that one have to confirm that there's an ittisal, that there's a connection in the chain. Second, thubut, adalat al-rawat. Second, that a person is able to confirm the adala, the credibility of the narrators. Third, on the integrity of the narrators. Third, dabt, thubut, dabt al-rawat, that the person is able to confirm the level of the preciseness in the memory of the narrators. And the fourth of those matters that they mentioned regarding Adam ash-shudud, that a hadith, that we can confirm that there's no shudud in the hadith, that there's no form of contradiction, whether by way of the isnad or the matan. So no conflict between the narrators or in the matan of the hadith. And also the fifth of those conditions is thubut, salamat al-illah, that also the hadith, we can confirm that there's no illah, that there's no hidden defects in the hadith, or any form of irregularity, or any form of hidden defects in the hadith. So that's concerning, these are the matters that relates to the hadith being authentic, looking at those matters. So as for the rawat, it relates to, one may say, adalat thubut, adalat al-rawat, confirming that this narrator, he has adala. Second, dabt al-rawat, confirm that also narrator, that is one that his memory is acceptable, at a level which is acceptable. So that's concerning how this matter relates to ilm al-hadith, as knowing that of the fields of the narrators also, this also is a part of authenticating the hadith and verifying the authenticity of the hadith. So inshallah ta'ala, that as mentioned, that the ulama have mentioned that the bulk of the matter that relates to the narrator is relates to those 2 main areas, adalat al-rawat, and second, the matter regarding dabt al-rawat. So those 2 areas are the thing that is looked into in details regarding the narrators, is adala, is credibility, is integrity, and second, regarding concerning the narrator by way of ifdaf, his memory, his ability to retain the hadith and to memorize the hadith. As mentioned by Ibn Salah rahimahullah, where he states, ajma jamahir a'immat al-hadith wal fiqh, that is agreed upon by jamahir, majority of the ulama of hadith and fiqh, ala annahu yashtarit fi man yahtaj bi rawayatihi, that they mention that it is agreed upon by the ulama of hadith and fiqh that it is a condition, fi man yahtaj, is conditional for the person that wants use as a proof, bi rawayatihi, from his narration, and yakuna, that he should be adlan dhabitan, he should one who's adlan, credible, and second, dhabitan lima yarwi, so he has to fulfill credibility and also trustworthiness, and also is dhabit, is one who has good memory of the hadith, lima yarwi, regarding what he narrates. So everything revolves around those 2 points. So in discussing further regarding these matters that regarding concerning narrators, as for what is mentioned by Ibn al-Lakim, they mention Sifatu Rawi. As for the description, the criteria for the Rawi, that they mention huwa, that these criteria, adl, dhabit, that he should be one who possess these 2 criteria, adl, credibility, trustworthiness, and second, dhabit, also dhabit being precise in his memory. As for the first, regarding those 2 matter, al-adl, the ulama rahimahullah, they have explained regarding al-adl, that they mentioned that what is meant by a person being said to be having adala, or being adl, credible. They mention an yakuna musliman, first, that he must be a person who's a Muslim, balig, that is above the age of puberty, aqilan, a person of sound mind, saliman min asbab al-fisq wal khawarim al-maruha, and also he should be free, saliman min asbab al-fisq, that he should be free from those matters relating to a fisq. He's not involved in fisq. And also khawarim al-maruha, and also the person is free from any form of manners and conduct that is unbefitting. So those are the criteria that is laid down by the ulama of hadith regarding a person who can be considered to be adl. That the criteria they mention, an yakuna musliman, first is a Muslim, baligh aqil, that a person who is above the age of puberty, and also is of sound mind. Then also they mention another criteria, which is salim min asbab al-fisq wal khawam mamru'a. And also it should be a person who's free from any form of fisq, any form of unbefitting practice concerning things of ma'asi. So fisq regarding ma'asi. And what is meant by asbab al-fisq, they mean concern that the person is not one who's involved in doing things of murtakib al-kaba'ir. He is not involved in involved in acts that are said to be major sin, or he is free from israr al-saghahir, and also is not known to continuously do a minor sin. So the person has to also fulfill this criteria. He is not known to be involved in a major sin, and second, he is not known to be continuously carrying out a minor sin. So that's concerning concerning salim min asbab al-fisq, where he is free from any form of fisq. And also khawal mamru'a, that a person not known for practices that are considered to be unbefitting. He is not known for practices and behavior and conduct that are said to be unbefitting. So that's concerning what is mentioned regarding al-adl. Those are criteria, and they also mention concerning that adala are those things that are looked into. So those are concerning al-adl, regarding the narrator in brief. What are those criteria? So regarding concerning that matter, the next matter regarding concerning adalat al-rawi, that ikhtibar adalat al-rawi. How does a person somewhat test to confirm that this person said to be having adala, or to be one who's trustworthy? As for the ulama of jar wa ta'dil, ulama of hadith, that their way of somewhat to test and to examine the person, that they'll use various methods to examine that person and to check the person out. Of those things, they look to regarding concerning another ila ibadatihi. They look to the person manner regarding his way of how he worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his ibadah. Is he involved concerning and his mu'amalat, and also his way of how he general dealings. So looking at those things regarding the person, that he does things regarding that is known that he's muhafid al ta'at, he does concerning those things that are expected of him regarding acts of ibadat, and also ijtinab al-ma'asi, and also he frees himself from ma'asi, from things of acts of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, second, the way of knowing that person of adala, or that su'al shuyukhi, that also asking his shuyukh, so asking his teachers what's their opinion of their student, this person, now regarding his hadith. So they ask regarding their student, and the teacher will give their recommendation regarding that student. Then also another way concerning concerning matters regarding tariq. So we're concerned to not looking at the person concerning his history and matters that relates to the person. So checking out those things regarding the individual. And also they mention shuhra bi adala, and also those who are somewhat become well known, established for their adala. So those are ways of verifying, to examine whether the person has adala or not. The next matter I discuss as this concerning matter regarding ilm al-hadith, regarding al-ruwat, as mentioned by Ibn Lakin, Sifatu rawi, that the emphasis is regarding knowing the sifat of the rawi, the ruwat, the narrators of hadith wal athar. So by this the ulama can they're somewhat focused as to which set of people that they're dealing with. So they're not dealing the Muslim in general, but they are more per se centered on a specific group of the Muslim, which are those people who are said to be the narrators of hadith wal athar. So people who are narrators of hadith, people who are not involved in narration of hadith, then they are not involved in this discussion. So regarding concerning this matter, to clarify regarding concerning who's a rawi, who's said to be a rawi. So as for a rawi, man huwa ar-rawi, it is mentioned concerning an yakuna dhakar or untha, that person could be a male or a female as a rawi. But in most cases they will be male. In most cases they'll be male, but in general the rawi could be a male and also female. Also regarding concerning ar-rawi, that they are mentioned concerning the rawi concerning man talaqa al-hadith, or adda bisigat min sigat al-ada. So the person who is said to be a rawi is a person who talaqi al-hadith, the person who studies hadith, the person that narrated hadith or naql al-hadith. So the person who narrates hadith, this is the person who said to be a rawi. And then he passes it, and then he passes hadith on in the way which is acceptable according to the ulama of hadith. So this concerning a person said to be a rawi, naqil al-hadith, the one who narrates hadith wal athar. So that's concerning this matter concerning who is the people who are looked into regarding this matter regarding al-ruwat. Those are the people who narrates hadith. People who are not in that category, then they are not discussed and not mentioned in the books of hadith. So the matter regarding concerning adl and dabit that we mentioned regarding concerning that of the next matter regarding concerning a narrator, they mentioned concerning ad-dabit. So they mentioned the person who said to the sifat, the criteria that is looked at is regarding one is adala, being adl, and second ad-dabit is dabt. So as for dabt that we had mentioned before, the ulama rahimahullah concerning dabt, concerning al-hifz, is the ability to memorize and to retain this hadith. As for dabt, as mentioned before, that they mentioned the ulama rahimahullah of hadith, that they have placed a dabt into two categories. Dabt as-sadr, dabt that relates to the person able to retain this hadith by way of his memory. So the person have received the hadith and is able to transmit that hadith as he heard it. So the person receive it, then is able to transmit that hadith without any changes. So memorize the hadith as he received it, and is able to deliver the hadith, to transmit the hadith as he heard it. So that's concerning dabt as-sadr. So that's concerning dabt as-sadr. Then also the second concern, I say dabt al-kitab. So dabt al-kitab, where the person who may have recorded the hadith, write down the hadith that he have heard in his book. So the mention concern that's concerned that the person able to asiyanat, that the person able can preserve that hadith as it was written without any form of changes occurring, allowing any form of alteration regarding that hadith. So that's concerning dabt al-kitaba. So the person, when he retains the hadith and wrote it down, that he can somewhat preserve that hadith from anyone going and making any change to that hadith. So that's concerning dabt al-kitaba. So as we have mentioned previously, so those are the matters the person have to be mindful of. So they mentioned dabt as-sadr. They have a more detailed mention. أن يكون الراوي يقظة, that a person is alert. غير مغفل, is not one who's negligent. بل يحفظ ما سمعه, that is able to memorize what you have heard. ويثبته, and preserve it, retain it. بحيث يتمكن من استعذار, by way of is able to can transmit that hadith متى شاء, is able to can transmit that hadith as whenever he wishes. مع علمي, with knowledge. بما يحيل معاني, also have knowledge regarding those things that may change the meaning of the hadith. If he narrate the hadith by way of in meaning, so he's somewhat conscious regarding that he's able to narrate the hadith in a way that does not change the meaning of the hadith. So that's concerning dabt as-sadr. And we discussed concerning those two matters relating to dabt as-sadr wa dabt al-kitaba. The next matter, the ulama rahimahullah, they discussed regarding this matter, regarding concerning al-rawi, regarding is the sifat, the criteria that is expected from the narrator that is looked into. Another discussion they have between the ulama of hadith rahimahullah is concerning kayfiyat al-thubut adalat al-rawi. Kayfiyat thubut adalat al-rawi. How one goes about confirming the adala, the credibility, trustworthiness of the narrator. So they mentioned that you have various ways also they can go about doing this or to confirm this. One way concerning that, tuthbit bil tansis, that they mentioned of the way that one can confirm also the credibility, the adal of the narrator, is that also by tansis. Tansis meaning that concerning that others, a'immat al-jar wa ta'dil, ulama of hadith, that they somewhat have given some form of tazkiyah to that narrator. They have given tazkiyah to that narrator. So a form of them giving an approval, a recommendation to that narrator, then this is a way of confirming, of knowing of his adala. So this concerning one of the ways concerning, as I mentioned, tansis. Tansis And they mentioned regarding tanzeen by something which is, we have a text from one of the ulama or from the ulama of hadith verifying the person level of giving credibility to that person and giving tazkiyah to that person. A discussion that they have between the ulama of hadith, does it require, how many people are the least amount of people that are required to give that tazkiyah? How many people, how many of the ulama are required to give that tazkiyah, that recommendation for that person for it to be considered? Of the ulama mentioned that you require ithnain, 2 of the ulama to give recommendation. But as mentioned by Khatib al-Baghdadi rahimahullah, as he mentioned, وَالَّذِي نَسْتَحَبُّ, as the thing that we are, what is beloved to us, أَنْ يَكُونَ مَنْ يُزَكِّي الْمُحَدِّثِ مَنْ يُزَكِّي الْمُحَدِّثِ إِثْنَيْن لِلْإِحْتِيَاطِ. That for 2, it is done 2 recommendation by the muhaddith, then this is something which is beloved, and that's by way of ihtiyat, by way of that which is the safe way to approach things. That I mentioned, وَإِنْ اقْتَصَرَ عَلَى تَزْكِيَةٍ وَاحِدٍ أَجْزَى, that if one person give tazkiyah, then this is sufficient, this is allowed, this is acceptable. So if we have one of the ulama of hadith have given their tazkiyah to that person, then this is accepted. This is accepted, and that's the qawl al-raji with the ulama of hadith. That's the qawl al-raji regarding this matter, where one person giving tazkiyah to a person, and vice versa, one person of the ulama of hadith giving also discrediting a person, also this is acceptable. So that's concerning that matter regarding that topic. Another way of verifying the narrator, they mentioned by way of istifada wal shuhra. A second way, another way of verifying the narrator adala is by way of istifada wa shuhra. Istifada wa shuhra mean concerning that person. So istifada wa ash-shuhra, that a person become well known, and a person that becomes well known and established amongst the people regarding that this person is known for his adala and thiqa and amana. So this person become known amongst the people for being one of adala. Yeah, because I'm fighting with this thing. From Mr. Father, start from the top of there. Yeah. Hey. Okay. Give me a number. Count me down. 1, 2, 3. So another method of knowing concerning thubut adalat al-rawi that ulama rahimahullah they mentioned, the second way is al-istifada wa shuhra. So the person concerning that, so this is another way, method of confirming and knowing the person's adala. So istifada wa shuhra, where this person become well known. So he become well known, renowned for being one who is known to have adala, wal amana, wal sidq. So that's the person, wal thiqa. So the person, if he's known for these characteristics of adala, thiqa, sidq, amana, then that becomes something which is taken. And with this case, they said that with istifada, that concerning if a person become well known, with the people they praise him, they speak well of him regarding his adala and the likes, then as for such a person, then this becomes something which is accepted. And if a person is confirmed by this method, then there's no reason to look into his life. There's no reason to question this matter. So we found some of the ulama, some of the great of the ulama, that they fall into this category concerning, for example, Imam Malik, because of al-istifada wa shuhra, that is known to be a person who is reliable and credible. Also Sufyan al-Thawri, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, Awza'i, Imam Shafi, Malik, that is ulama, that they are known for their adala, for their reliability, credibility. They are known for their adala and the likes. So they become accepted because it's well established amongst the people and everyone praise them. So that's the second way of knowing, confirm concerning the person's adala. You have other things that are mentioned by some of the ulama, but these are of the two that are the ones that are mentioned, that are of the ones that are well known and established. The next matter regarding concerning that the ulama look at concerning in discussing of this matter regarding al-rawi, regarding knowing of their the rawi that with they discuss bima ya'raf adapt rawi. So all we know concerning the person of dabt. We still discuss concerning dabt rawi. This is known by comparing that person with others amongst the thiqat. So that person will be compared with other of the ulama who are well known, established for being of the thiqat of the highest level, to see if that individual, how much does he coincide, compare with that individual, see if does he coincide in most part, or does he have in most part errors when compared that individual. So the person in most part that is of those who coincide with those of thiqat, then is accepted as those who are thiqah. But if you find that the person have errors to a certain degree, then that may remove his dabt, because he's not known to be precise, because he keeps contradicting others who are more precise than he is. So that's concerning of the ways of verifying the level of the person dabt, by comparing him with others who are well established for their dabt. So as for that matter, that regarding al-rawi, also regarding concerning al-rawi, that as we mentioned, regarding concerning those are the things to confirm. In general, that you have things that will remove a person from being said to be one who's of dabit adl. Of those things, a kafir would be excluded, sabi would be excluded, majnoon would be excluded, al-mubtada, and to be discussed in general, al-fasiq would be excluded. Also, muttahim bil-kadhib, a person who is accused of lying, known to lie amongst the people. Al-kadhab, the person who lies upon the Prophet ﷺ, and concern a person who mahrum al-murwa, the person whose behavior is not up to the mark, the person whose conduct is not of an acceptable standard. Then all the people who fall into that category, then they'll lose their adala. They'll lose their adala. So those are the things that the ulama rahimahullah they looked at, and also think that when a person may lose of his dabt due to su'al hifz, he have poor memory. Also regarding khatat al-mukhalafat, that he contradicts, always contradicting those who are riwat, who are thiqat. Also al-wahm, kathir al-wahm, the person also have many type of errors. So those are the things that will cause the person to be to lose his dabt, to be removed from of being of a person who said to be dabit. So there are general matters to be looked into regarding matters that you mentioned as first concerning Sifatu rawi al-dabit. So that's concerning that matter in brief. Then we move to the next matter that relates to al-jar wa ta'dil. So jar wa ta'dil, now we'll discuss also some matters relating to this. But inshallah ta'ala, we'll put those matters into the next lesson regarding matters that relates to al-jar wa ta'dil in the lesson to come after. وبالله تعالى التوفيق وهذه إلى سبيل والآخرة ونحمد الأمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.